Thank you so much for your question. So simply put, I would say apply early to as many schools as possible. If a school has early action as an option, that means that you can apply early to that school and it is not binding. You should take advantage of that. There are some schools that have single choice restrictive early action. So for example, Yale, they don't have early decision, they just have single choice early action. That's essentially their way of seeing, like, are they your top Ivy? Or at least your top private school, because you can still apply early to non-private schools. So like a state school, you can apply early to a state school if you're applying early to Yale. Now, what is early decision then? Let's say Brown University is your top choice. Brown University doesn't have early action. They only have early decision. That is a binding choice. So you apply early and you hear back early, but you're not allowed to change your mind later. That is the school you have to go to if you're accepted. So understandably, early decision does boost your chances of admission by quite a lot. So for example, for the 2028 class that was applying to Brown University, anyone who applied early decision had a 14.4% chance of admission that cycle. Brown's overall acceptance rate is around 5%. And I just double checked, its acceptance rate for the 2027 application cycle for regular admission only was 3.9%. So you can see it makes a pretty big difference, right? And of course, that's because a lot of schools do want to protect their yield rates. But when you ask, as a junior, how many schools should you apply early for? The reason I say apply early to as many as you can is because you can't apply early to all of them. But the reason why applying early, even to your safety school, is important is that timing for the application cycle is so important. You should be looking into, which schools have specific scholarships that you can apply for. Typically, those scholarships are due early. But if you don't know that, and if you haven't applied and you haven't really taken the initiative to look into the school, then you've missed out. And one thing that I do recommend to all of my students is for all of your safety schools, you should apply to the honors college if the school has one. I have had students turn down top schools in favor of their safety because they got into the honors program and they got a massive scholarship. The biggest piece of advice I think I could give you for trying to navigate your own timeline would be to create your preliminary college list. So that should include, reach schools, target schools, and your safety schools. And throw in some wildcards. I recommend that for every student. What I mean by wildcard is Harvard's not a reach school for anybody. It is a wildcard. The perfect applicant could get rejected from Harvard. And I would do as much research about every single school as possible. I've had students who had very long school lists because they just wanted to shotgun schools, and they ended up just deciding actually I looked into the school, I don't want to apply. And they took that school off their list, and it had been sitting there and weighing on their conscience and making them think oh, I have to write all these additional essays for this school and I don't really want to go, because once they finally looked into the school, they realized I wouldn't actually attend this one. Also, nearly every top school is going to ask you, why do you want to come here? So you should know a lot about the school. But first things first, figure out the timeline. Once you know when the early rounds are due, once you know when scholarship applications are due, it'll be a lot easier to actually plan your summer, because you really should start working on your applications during the summer when you have a little bit more free time. If you have any remaining questions, please feel free to ask. We're more than happy to help.